Brat, this is my third time. Yes, my third or fourth time filming this video. Let's do this. I'm Jacob Brat. My passion project is to write a book. I didn't finish writing a book, but I got the first act done of it. About like 15 chapters. Pretty good if you ask me. Basically, writing a book. Didn't finish it, but I did pretty good. Anyways, so I'm going to be taking it step by step with the handy dandy highlight video playing document Mrs. Lear gave me. Anyways, let's do this. Part 1, Introduction. Your why. Why did I choose to write a book? Well, gosh, dilly darn it, I've been passionate about this for so long. Ever since I was an elementary little preschooler, not preschool, grade schooler, I've liked thinking about stories and plots and characters and making my own versions of Transformers and Star Wars characters. I've had a creative spirit ever since I was young. Gosh darn it. How am I going to keep up this energetic voice? I'm not doing this. Now it's time for calm time. Basically, I've been passionate about writing a book about thinking about story concepts for a long time, thinking about characters, plots, just stories in general. The only time I've ever really tried to write a book was back in middle school for Mr. Williams' class. As you can see right here, it's not very good at all. But you know, it was an attempt. So I've been passionate about stories and thinking of ideas and being creative when it comes to narratives and fiction for a while, and ever since middle school I have made tons of concepts and thought of tons of concepts and written down tons of concepts for stories. As you can see, there's a lot of them right here. A lot of these are very fleshed out, some of them not so much fleshed out, like lots of ideas and concepts for this story. Actually, that one's not that many. This one definitely has a lot. But yeah, and ever since middle school, I've been adding on to these stories more and more, thinking of more and more ideas, but I've never actually sat down and tried to finish one of them or write a book for one of them, which is why I thought this passion project would be a good choice for me, because it pushes me out of my comfort zone, and that's a good thing, and it pushes me forward to the next step of the creative process, which is actually finishing the work, not just the conceptual stage. So that's why I chose this one, because I'm passionate about it. I've been doing it for a long time. The creative ideas I've been doing that for a long time, but I've never actually written a book. So that's why I wanted to write a book, because it pushes me out of my comfort zone, and I like stories and fiction and narrative and creating that stuff. Part 2, process, step by step. What did you do this semester? I planned out a rough outline for the story plot, because before I started writing the book, I had the ideas for the story laid out right here. So these are all the ideas and concepts and basically like just what the story would be about, but not really an outline or actual plot line for what would actually happen, just a bunch of different random puzzle pieces. And then I wrote out the first 2 chapters of a book just to get a taste and just like start something of like what was to come. And I showed that to some teachers and they gave feedback for that. After I wrote the first 2 chapters, I actually started planning out the rest of the story before I actually started doing it, because you don't want to go into writing a book without a plan. That's where all of this is, right here. All that. It's only for like about the first act, and this is the rest of the stuff that'll be happening later on. So I planned out the story, and then a big part of it before I actually started grinding out the rest of the chapters past like chapter 2. There's these people called symphonies, which are like special warriors with special powers, but whenever they use their special powers, they have to say certain words and stuff, and I spent a lot of time coming up with these words, and because they're all like specially themed and like catered to their sort of like thing that they got going on, like thorns without a rose is one of the powers, and it's like dealing with flowers and stuff. I spent a lot of time just looking up tons of different like types of flowers and just like, what are all the different types of flowers? And I looked through like every single different type of flower. No, I didn't actually look through every single type of flower, but I did look through every single color on Wikipedia, A through Z. Every single color. And I chose like 50 of them. That was it. And then I used probably like 30 of those. That was it. But hey, putting some time and effort in that. This took me a long time coming up with all of these ideas for all of these different phrases. I spent a lot of time looking up orchestra terms and like dictionary for a bunch of different orchestra terms, because that was really important, because the story, it has a lot of orchestra stuff going into it, like opera and theater, so that's a pretty big point when theming the names for my powers. So I did rough outlines and basic rough drafts for all these characters, all these ones right there. Here's the planning document that I used. Basically what, ooh, that is not the right one. Basically what I did is, anytime I would hear or think of a really cool word that I liked, or if I did research on like butterflies, colors, orchestra terms, I'd write it down in here, and then I would just take these words, combine them into cool phrases or whatever, and then I would put them for a character, and that's basically it. So it took me a really long time. Yeah, and then here's the actual document for all the actual symphonies laid out. Why is it like that? Anyways, is it? Whatever. I won't worry about it. Yeah, I got all these guys. And we're like actual names for the characters, where they come from, kind of just like basic summaries of kind of what they're all about, blah, 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 blah. And then, after that, that's whenever I actually really started to type out the actual book and work on the chapters, and that's where all of this comes in. So, this is my progress so far, right here. 98 pages on Google Documents. Your place to go to type your passion projects, I guess. Anyways, moving on. Part 3. Part 3. Reflection/result. What went well? Why? Interviews/discussions with teachers about the story went well. Whenever I would finish some new chapters or anything, I would go show them like Mr. Freeze, Mrs. Bernard, Mrs. Neighbor, especially Mrs. Lear. It was really nice. Feedback. Improve the story, so that stuff was nice and went well. What else went well? Some of them were pretty good, and I'm proud of some of them. I really like how they turned out and the cool little intricacies that are a part of them. So, I mean, some chapters went really well, and the interviews went pretty well. What didn't go so well? Why? Some chapters just didn't land as well, some parts didn't land as well, and I wish I could go back and fix them, but, yeah. And getting into the groove and into the zone to start typing stuff out is kind of hard, because you're just sitting there, staring at your screen, and you don't really know what to do, so that kind of sucked. But other than that, wasn't too bad. 7 minutes. So yeah, getting into the zone, hard. Once you get into the zone, it's easy. What could you have done to be better prepared? I could have done less Wordle each day. You know, this little thingy right here. Yeah, because every day I would start the class off with a Wordle, and that would waste my time. That's crappy. So yeah, if I could have saved me a lot more time if I didn't do Wordles, but Mrs. Lear wanted me to do Wordles, so that is Mrs. Lear's fault, not mine. What did you learn from your experience? Books are difficult. Yeah. Has learning changed for you as a result of this class? Why or why not? No, comma, space, because, period. What did you learn are your strengths through this process, your weaknesses? These may be different than you thought or discussed at the beginning of the semester. When I get into the zone, which is difficult, but when I do, I can really work really good and really hard. And I can type out some good stuff. It's just getting to the zone is hard, but once I get into there, it's really good. And then my weakness is procrastination, I guess, and getting distracted by friends. It's not my fault, but sure, we'll consider it a weakness. What was your favorite part? Why? Interviewing with teachers, hearing their feedback, positive feedback or critiques was always nice. I really like discussing and getting recognition for my work in progress, so that was nice. Interviews were definitely good. What advice would you give others who are beginning this process? And don't stop/break the momentum. Keep the cause going lest you get complacent. Basically, the whole zone talk I was discussing earlier. Once you get into the zone and you're just kind of like in it, you can get work done very easily. It's not a drag at all. Just start as soon as you can. Don't put it off. And then once you start working, keep it going so you don't have to lose it, and then you have to try to get back into the zone and go through the whole process again. What advice would you give yourself if you could go back to the beginning of the semester? I would give them a copy of all my present work so they can get a head start. I would just copy the document, email it to them, and then they can have it. What comes next? What are you going to do now? I will likely try to finish the book tomorrow. And gosh diddly darn it, this video is now over. It is really helpful. It'll actually save, and you guys will actually see this. Thank you for watching.